Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to work, cause my boss is a jerk, and I'm not even that paid. I need a change in my life, cause I don't feel alive, and there's nothing that makes me happy. Hold my beer for a minute, I'm about to quit my job, cash in for a ticket. I'm going on a trip, and I don't...
There are fighters who become champions. There are fighters who become legends. And then there are fighters whose names alone are enough to make an entire generation of MMA fans stop and remember. Mirko Cro Cop, Fedor Emelianenko, two of the most feared fighters of the golden era of heavyweight MMA. One was a Croatian knockout machine with one of the most dangerous left high kicks the sport has ever seen. The other was a Russian heavyweight who looked almost emotionless before entering the ring, and then completely destroyed some of the best fighters in the world. Tonight, we are looking back at the brutal knockouts, the incredible careers, and finally, the legendary fight between Cro Cop and Fedor. Because when these two men finally met, it wasn't just another heavyweight fight. It was the fight the entire MMA world had been waiting for. Let's start with Mirko Cro Cop. Before becoming one of the biggest names in MMA, Cro Cop had already built a reputation as an elite kickboxer, and his most famous weapon became legendary for a reason: the left high kick. Cro Cop himself once described his attacks in a brutally simple way: right leg, hospital; left leg, cemetery. And when you watch these highlights, you understand exactly why that quote became so famous. Cro Cop didn't throw his high kick like a wild heavyweight hoping to land something. His technique was incredibly sharp. He could attack the body, force his opponent to lower his guard, and then suddenly send that same left leg directly toward the head. Sometimes there was almost no warning. 1 second his opponent was standing in front of him. The next second, they were unconscious. And what made Cro Cop even more dangerous was that opponents knew exactly what he wanted to do, and they still couldn't stop it. His kicks against fighters like Igor Vovchanchin and Wanderlei Silva became some of the most iconic knockout moments in MMA history. Especially the Wanderlei Silva knockout. Two terrifying strikers standing in front of each other, and Cro Cop landed the perfect left high kick. Silva collapsed instantly. No celebration was needed. Everyone already understood what they had just seen. But then you have Fedor Emelianenko, and Fedor was terrifying in a completely different way. Cro Cop looked dangerous. Fedor often looked almost ordinary. No crazy muscles, no intimidating stare, no screaming, no dramatic entrances. He would walk into the ring with almost no emotion on his face, and then the bell would ring. Suddenly, that quiet Russian heavyweight became incredibly explosive. Fedor had fast combinations, powerful overhand punches, excellent sambo, dangerous submissions, and unbelievable transitions on the ground. He could knock you out. He could throw you. He could submit you. And maybe the most frightening thing about Fedor was that he never seemed to panic. Even when something went wrong, his expression barely changed. Look at the fight with Kevin Randleman. Randleman picked Fedor up and dropped him with one of the most violent suplexes you will ever see in heavyweight MMA. For most fighters, that could have been the end. Fedor survived it, reversed the position, and shortly afterwards submitted Randleman. That moment perfectly explains why Fedor became such a legend. You could hit him, you could throw him, you could hurt him, but getting rid of him was something completely different. So they are two completely different kinds of danger. And this is what made Cro Cop versus Fedor so fascinating. They represented two completely different kinds of danger. Cro Cop was the sniper. He wanted distance, he wanted space, and he wanted one perfect moment to land that devastating kick or straight left hand. Fedor was chaos under control. He could explode forward with huge punches, crash into the clinch, take the fight to the ground, and immediately start attacking. Against Cro Cop, standing at kicking distance was extremely dangerous. Against Fedor, allowing him to pressure you was equally dangerous. And both men had something else in common. They fought heavyweights during an era when heavyweight MMA was absolutely brutal. These weren't fighters trying to carefully protect perfect records. They fought dangerous opponents again and again. Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira, Wanderlei Silva, Mark Coleman, Kevin Randleman, Josh Barnett, Kazuyuki Fujita, Mark Hunt. Some of the toughest men of that generation stood across the ring from Cro Cop or Fedor, and for years, both men looked almost unstoppable. Why this fight became so huge? By the time Cro Cop and Fedor were finally scheduled to fight, the anticipation was enormous. Fedor was sitting at the top of the heavyweight division. He had beaten elite competition and built a reputation as possibly the best heavyweight fighter on the planet. But Cro Cop looked like the perfect man to stop him. His takedown defense had improved. His striking was clearly more dangerous. And unlike many heavyweights Fedor had faced, Cro Cop had the speed and precision to punish him badly during an entry. Fans started asking one question: what happens if Fedor walks directly into Cro Cop's left high kick? Because if Cro Cop landed clean, it didn't matter how tough you were. But there was another question. What happens when Fedor forces Cro Cop backwards? Because Cro Cop was most dangerous when he controlled the distance. Fedor understood that, and that would become one of the most important tactical stories of their fight. This wasn't simply striker versus grappler. Fedor could strike. Cro Cop could defend takedowns. This was two elite fighters trying to take away the other man's biggest strength. And finally, in 2005, at Pride Final Conflict, the fight happened. So who was the better fighter? If we are talking purely about striking, especially kicking ability, Cro Cop was probably the more dangerous specialist. His left high kick alone makes him one of the most feared knockout artists MMA has ever produced. But if we are talking about the more complete mixed martial artist, Fedor has the stronger argument. He could strike with elite heavyweights. He could wrestle. He could throw opponents with sambo. He could dominate from the top. He could submit people. And most importantly, he consistently found ways to win against very different styles. That is why so many fans still consider Prime Fedor one of the greatest heavyweight fighters of all time. But Cro Cop deserves his own place in MMA history, because very few fighters ever created the same feeling of danger every time they lifted one leg. Fedor was probably the more complete fighter. Cro Cop may have been the more terrifying striker. And when the two finally met, we got one of the defining heavyweight fights of the Pride era. Two legends, two completely different weapons, and one fight MMA fans will never forget. Cro Cop versus Fedor. From the beginning, something was immediately clear. Fedor was not afraid of Cro Cop's striking. Instead of giving him space, Fedor moved forward aggressively, and that was incredibly important. Cro Cop wanted room to set up his left kick. Fedor kept closing that room. He pressured Cro Cop, threw punches, and forced him to fight while moving backwards. When the fight went to the ground, Fedor was able to control positions and make Cro Cop work. And and as the fight continued, the pressure started to tell the story. Cro Cop was still dangerous, but Fedor controlled more of the fight. He dictated where many of the exchanges happened. He pressured, he landed, he controlled. And after 3 rounds, Fedor Emelianenko won the fight by unanimous decision. There was no dramatic knockout, no crazy submission. But in many ways, that made Fedor's performance even more impressive. He fought one of the most dangerous strikers in heavyweight history, and instead of avoiding Cro Cop's weapons, he walked forward and neutralized them. So who was the better fighter? If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments, Prime Fedor Emelianenko versus Prime Mirko Cro Cop. If they fought 10 times, how many fights does each man win?